What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. I believe the Russians are invading white social media and they are creating propaganda YouTube videos to promote Nick Fuentes because they know Nick Fuentes is an ethno-nationalist and he's going against the establishment, which are global white supremacy, and they believe in the global white rich pan-Europeanism, pan-rich Europeanism, as a global white power, and the ethno-nationalist American white power who don't want to be associated, wholeheartedly with global white power, that there's a rift being created in America, right? Destroying the Republican Party, destroying the party of power, destroying and separating the people who are in charge in America, right? And I believe it's being, I believe there are Russian operatives right now on social media pushing Nick Fuentes. The reason why, because as of late, Nick Fuentes has been getting a lot more press. They've been platforming him, and he's a Mexican. That's the dude's a Mexican. Look at his skin, man. I'm telling you, the dude go outside, he get brown, right? That's probably why he stay in his mama's basement, right? But right now, Nick Fuentes is he's the Ralph Nader. He's the Bob Dole. He's the Joe Lieberman, right? He's the Joe Manchin. He's that guy. He's the wedge creator, right? What he says is not revolutionary, but his ability to just be outwardly racist and just exhale his true feelings, how he feels about it, is a relief to a lot of Americans who tiptoe right around being racist. They're racist, but they always gotta, step on eggshells or are racist. But, anytime they display their racism, which they view as European pride, they view as nationalistic ethno pride, they think that we're saying that their pride, right, they're having pride for themselves is inherently racist. So they're anti that, right? But in fact, they're proud of their racism and their culture of racism. That's what makes them racist, right? But I've been listening, there's some YouTube channels popping up. Well, there are these white boys, very generic, look like any old white boy. And what they do is, since Nick Fuentes he's canceled on all the big social media platforms, what they're doing is they are just taking his videos, playing his videos on their own channels, and then they're giving their commentary. And I'm listening to him, right? And I'm listening to these white guys, these Russians. I'm pretty sure they're Russian, right? You can hear it in their accent. But there's two of them specifically, and if I can find them, I will put a small little example of them, just so you can kind of hear and see what I'm talking about, of two in particular that I've seen, right? And they like to play around in the edge. They're in the edge category genre of social media. Edge is just white people being able to just say shit without getting in trouble. They just, let me be racist, all right? Edge. Let me be racist and ignorant, and let me not be held accountable for it. That's what the fuck that shit means, right? But there's two of them, and they sound Russian. One has a very good, you can't really hear it at all. You can't hear no Russian accent at all. And there's a lot of we, us, right? And they got the big American flag in the back. And every day he's pumping out things with Nick Fuentes. And clearly this guy is supposedly on the ethno-nationalist side against the European white supremacists. But you can tell that these guys are European, right? And they keep calling themselves American. And the way they talk as if they are white Americans whose history, has been here for a couple hundred years. But you can hear it in one guy. I don't know. Maybe he thinks he's doing an American accent, but the guy clearly is Russian. And he's like, we. But he slipped up on one of his videos and he was like, yeah, you guys got, you guys. I'm like, there it is. Because when you lie consistently, every now and then, the truth is going to accidentally slip out. And I'll be listening to him. I'm like, oh, these are the Russians. And because their wealth of knowledge of global politics and their age don't match. Because there's not too many, unless they're like, you look at them, you can tell they're early 20s. I mean, can't be no older than 23, 24. They're white. So black people look at them, they may look like they're in their 30s and 40s, but trust me, these guys are in their early 20s. They're young, right? And the things that they're saying, they're talking like they're 50, 60-year-old white men. So clearly these guys are trained. These guys either went to school for geopolitics or something, because they're spitting out shit. I'm like, there's no 21, 22-year-old white American boy who's not involved in actual politics who knows that level of detail unless they're into it, like it's their hobby, or they've been training. There's no casual person speaking the way they speak, right? And their accent pops out, like, oh, okay, this is what the Russians are doing. Because the Russians, they are not so much, they're kind of ethno-nationalists towards Russians, because they're always battling other Europeans and shit. That's just what they do. So any opportunity they get to split, their enemies' power, they're going to do that. They did the same thing with African Americans. They were pumping out, anytime white Europeans do anything to African Americans in America, Russians and their subsidiary companies who have access to our websites, they push and they promote. They make sure to remind African Americans that white Americans suck. All right, they want us on their side, right? And I can understand their moves on the international scale, because Russians have always, even though if you go to Russia, there are elements of racist people there, because white people in general they're racist. It's easy for them, right? But in general, Russians never had an issue with Africans. Russians have always helped Africans in Africa fight against the Anglo-Saxon barbarian. It may not be because they bestest as friends, but everybody has strategic reasons for doing things. But all in all, the history of Russia and Africa, the history of Russia and black people are a positive one, right? So that is in fact true, because those white folks didn't do shit to us. And I don't even know if we call Russians white. I mean, they are clearly pale, but they're kind of Asiatic, and the Anglo-Saxon barbarian Germanics don't look at them the same anyway. They're mortal enemies, like that shit is next level, right? Clearly, they're fighting a whole European War III that they like to call World War right now. Shit's happening, right? Millions of white people dying for what? Right? But the Russians have infiltrated social media on the white side to break apart the white power structure in America, and I'm seeing it because I pay attention to shit like that, right? And I find it interesting. Hey, look, I mean, hey, as far as I'm concerned, I let them guys fight. I just like to watch. It's just refreshing to see other people do shit and having their shit out for once. Let me be entertained by their shit. Let me be entertained by all their little dramas they shit, got going on as the world turns European Nazi version. You know what I'm saying? As the, General Hospital Nazi version type shit. This goddamn daytime soap opera we got going on with these white folks trying to figure out which white supremacist is most supremacist than the other white supremacists. And this white supremacist don't like this white supremacist because this white supremacist ain't white supremacy enough. And this one is a soft white supremacist. And this is a white supremacist that like black people. And this is a white supremacist that love Jews. And I'm a white supremacist that don't love Jews. And I can't be with white supremacists that love Jews. And I'm a Jew, but I'm a white supremacist. But I'm a Jew, so I'm not white, but I am white. And I want white supremacy without being white. Like, that shit is nuts, man. These white folks are bouncing around with their white supremacy as it falls and falters and disintegrates into historic nothingness as African people rise slow. Listen, black people, listen, if life is an Uno game, we got 4 draw foes in our hands, Slim. 4. We got 4. And we stacking. We already know. And everybody else, those POCs, white folk, they've been hitting us with them draw 2s the whole game. We're like, all right, yeah, all right, I'm plucking. We're like, yeah, cool. No problem. We picking up motherfucking draw 2s, skips, reverses and shit, and we playing stacks and numbers. So we lining them bitches up, and as soon as we get the opportunity, blah, 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 Uno out, bitch. And that's what's going to happen. That's the truth. That's why I'm sitting back. Ain't no pressure on us, because we on our way. There's nothing no group on this planet can do to stop the inevitable. And that's the inevitable rise of African people, African nations, African tribes, African kingdoms, African education, African science, and African thought, and African futurism. There's no stopping it. Resistance is futile. Anyway, tell me what you guys think in the comment section. Afro Think Tank, learn something, teach something. I'm out.
The Democrat Thomas Massie, the Republican. Featured story for tonight, this Jeffrey Epstein bill. This is huge. The big news today is that the discharge petition, which was created by Ro Khanna, the Democrat, Thomas Massie, the Republican, has finally been brought to the floor of the U.S. House and was passed almost unanimously. This is the bill that will compel the DOJ to release all the Epstein files. Today it passed unanimously. Now it goes to the U.S. Senate, where it has already been agreed upon that it will pass unanimously there as well. And then quickly it will move to the White House, where President Trump says that he will sign it. So this is an unbelievable earthquake. Because again, as I said at the beginning of the show, and we'll work through some of the timeline, President Trump has been working tirelessly and spending enormous political capital basically since he took office to prevent exactly this from happening. Ever since January of this year, so 10 months ago, Trump has been fighting, and he's come up with every trick. He tried to distract the people. He tried to deceive the people. He tried to bury and cover up the Epstein files, tried to stall Congress and prevent them from considering it. He threw his weight around. He used intimidation, tried to bully Republicans, his supporters, and his political allies to stop talking about it. He did everything, pulled out every stop. And in the end, not only did it not work, but in the final week, it looks like there was this boiling over. And in the end, not only did the bill pass, but it passed unanimously in the House and the Senate. And go figure. Just a week ago, you had 4 Democrats, or was it 6 or 7 Democrats? 6 Democrats, I think it was, held up the entire U.S. Senate, shut down the government for over 40 days, over nothing. Think about it. 6 Democrats shut down the entire government, the longest shutdown in history, for 45 days. They were going to shut down air travel during Thanksgiving. They were going to prevent food stamps from going out to 40 million people. They furloughed much of the government. I knew many people in government that didn't get paid for a month. TSA wasn't getting paid. You had hour-long security lines in Texas at LaGuardia, New York, over nothing. And this week, every single member, they all got together. 2 weeks ago, they could barely come to an agreement to let the planes fly during Thanksgiving and Christmas. And now every single member, Republican and Democrat, House and Senate, has come together and agreed we want the Epstein files against the wishes of the president. This is a coup. This is a mutiny. Make no mistake about it. That's the significance of it. Trump lost on this one.
Yes, he did, and you should ask yourself why. Because if Donald Trump doesn't even want to listen to his own people, why would the people still listen to Donald Trump? And also another question, do you actually believe if these files are going to be released, that these files are authentic, that they didn't scrub them, that they didn't remove all the important names? I don't even trust these files anymore at this point. It took so long, and this is also why I'm so disappointed in Donald Trump's scene, because he literally said that there were no files first, then he tried to cover this up for like almost 1 year. I don't trust this guy anymore, and it just turns out that he is such a liar. And probably people, they will hate me for saying this, because I know there's many people watching who are very fanatic Trump supporters, but I should ask yourself, or you should ask yourself this question as well. Do you still want to support a guy who actually lies straight into your face, who is literally like maybe took place in one of the most disgusting files in the human history, who was befriended with Jeffrey Epstein? Maybe he did similar things like him. Do you actually want to support a guy like that? I can't do this any longer, and this is the reason why I don't believe Trump anymore, and he is fully responsible for this himself. He effed it up himself for doing all these things.
Every single Twitter user is a Russian person pretending to be an American.
St. Petersburg's notorious troll factory is finally giving up its secrets thanks to a few brave former workers such as Vitaly Bespalov. 200 people.
200 people, most 200 people.
The 26-year-old journalism grad became a troll by accident in late 2014 when he answered an ad at the Internet Research Agency. I figured out early that the main goal was to create a picture of the world and the Internet that mirrored what was being shown on Russian television. Bespalov was put on the Ukraine desk. Russia's covert support for rebels in eastern Ukraine was underway, so anything that made Ukrainian government soldiers look bad was a priority, especially stories about dead children. We saw a news story that some militiamen were hiding in the school in Donbass and it was being shelled. Some children died. The facts were unclear, says Bespalov, but that didn't matter. We simply took the news stories and wrote that Ukrainian soldiers shot and killed the children. That's it. No hesitation. Murat Mindyarov spent 3 months as a troll in early 2015. Under the fake name Ivan Putkin, he was told to use the comment section to rebut critical stories about the Kremlin.
What kinds of things were they asking you to write? Things that applauded the United States or things that applauded Russia?
Applauded Russia, of course, and unfortunately, and that's the horror, to hate America.
The pay was good, he says, 1,000 Canadian dollars a month. But he said it was soul-destroying, so he left after 3 months.
It was not criminal in the terms of the law. It was criminal in the terms of the ethic and moral.
Since he's spoken out, Mindyarov has been detained by police, while Bespalov has endured ridicule on Russian state TV. He was portrayed as a hard-partying opposition supporter, not worth listening to. Bespalov says he's speaking out, hoping such fake news factories will be shut down. I didn't like the atmosphere of lies and distortion. I see this in Russia, and I don't like it. In St. Petersburg, our CBC crew stopped by the troll factory. The security guard wasn't happy. He told us not to come back. Most workers cleared out a few months ago. Russian media has reported they've relocated to a new site. Both men were gone long before the alleged U.S. election tampering, but both also say they're sure such meddling is still going on. Chris Brown, CBC News, St. Petersburg.
Russia wants you to destroy your country, and you're falling for it.
I do find it objectively hilarious how people talk about Russian propaganda without actually talking about its mechanisms. Framing somebody's dissent with their governing body as Russian misinformation or disinformation is objectively hilarious, particularly when you actually consider the ways in which Russia actually utilizes its propaganda against everyday citizens. This is particularly for the Americans that follow me, but if you actually listen to what Putin says about America, it's very obvious how he employs it. People have this weird idea that propaganda, it takes a lot of world building, a lot of inventive thinking, when actually a majority of Russian propaganda is very obvious. Putin doesn't use anything that really isn't already there. He utilizes white supremacy and gets white people to do exactly what they were going to do. Like, it's not that hard. And right now, he's utilizing the tenets of white comfort and entitlement. Because the majority of the people voicing their dissent, the loudest voices of people voicing their dissent and distrust with their government, are Black and brown people. And in particular, with this current global situation, Middle Eastern and North African people, and them wanting to stop the genocide of their people, utilizing and leveraging their votes. Leveraging their votes because they know that a majority of politicians don't give two shits about perpetuating a genocide against Palestinian people. They care about their polling numbers and their votes. And if you look at every marginalized group, Russia did not tell my government to pay disabled people below the minimum wage. Russia did not tell my government to overthrow or fund multiple genocides across the world. Russia did not tell the Democratic Party to run progressives and then completely undermine any progressive values. Russia did not tell the Democratic Party to leverage Roe v. Wade being overturned for nearly 50 years without actually moving to enshrine it in law. And Russia did not tell my government to remove aid and assistance, including medical care, from people who were financially vulnerable during this pandemic, this ongoing pandemic. What Russia does do, though, is encourage white people to act white, which is to get them to laugh in the comment sections of Black and brown people saying, enjoy those concentration camps. Ah! Nobody told liberals to tell Palestinian people they don't care about having to watch their family members be slaughtered. But I can guarantee you that Russia will point out that hypocrisy. He already has. Russian propaganda has always used the pressure points of an already existing racist, xenophobic dynamic. And he specifically uses the entitlement of believing that Black and brown people, those same Black and brown people who are leveraging their votes to save lives abroad, owe you a vote. And Putin also letting you all speak out of your own discomfort with the idea that you could be losing people, not realizing that the way that you speak to people will become a reflection of the party as a whole, right? And so while you all decry the sounds of dissent of Black and brown people with their governments, the sound that really should terrify you would be silence. Because unless I'm misremembering, none of y'all saw the virulent racism and dissent that was brewing in online spaces. You never saw that coming, right? When it came to the 2016 election. But a lot of people raised the alarm, particularly Black women. Y'all were so quick to dismiss it that 2016 came as a surprise to a lot of white people, right? You would have so successfully silenced so many people that you created an echo chamber in which you all were victors. And that sounds mighty familiar right about now. But hey, what do I know?
Russian disinformation didn't just appear. This is something that they've been working on for decades. And Putin, well, he accelerated it. He built it brick by brick and has been waiting patiently. And now it's part of mainstream American politics. If you haven't, go back and watch part 1. I talk about how this actually started back in the KGB days. How did they do this? Well, in 2005, Putin launched Russia Today, otherwise known as RT. By 2010, RT was carried on most US cable packages. That means it was airing next to CNN, MSNBC, and yes, even Fox News. It looked just like a normal news channel, but its job was to push propaganda. They hired English-speaking hosts, built flashy studios, and marketed themselves as the alternative perspective. And before long, RT's message started getting amplified. Fox News was the first US network that started picking up Russian talking points. Instead of calling out RT as propaganda, Fox News personalities like Bill O'Reilly and later Tucker Carlson started echoing what they were saying in prime time. Whether it was skepticism of NATO, praising Putin as a strong leader, or questioning US intelligence agencies, these Kremlin lines started reaching tens of millions of Americans every single night. Fox News gave something that Russian disinformation could never buy, and that was legitimacy. When a conspiracy theory or anti-American sentiment hit RT, it was fringe. When Fox picked it up, suddenly it was dinner table conversation in America. Russia's disinformation campaigns didn't stay strictly on cable. Russia also created troll farms and fake social media accounts to push narratives that they wanted out on FB and Twitter. These fake accounts made stories trend. Think about Pizzagate. That was amplified by a troll farm in St. Petersburg. And then American podcasters pick it up. Think people like Alex Jones and InfoWars, Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, and even Joe Rogan, who regularly gave oxygen to conspiracy theorists. These stories reached millions, especially younger audiences. RT and Russian troll farms didn't have to convince everyone themselves anymore. All they had to do was light the match, and these podcasters and social media accounts would spread the fire. That's how something like Pizzagate went from a Russian troll farm to a guy in Washington, D.C. who grabbed a pew-pew and then walked into the pizza shop. That they use. Let's take Scotty Nell Hughes, who is a conservative commenter on CNN. Did a job as a host on RT America. That's how seamlessly this works. Tucker Carlson, he repeated Kremlin talking points about Ukraine so often that Russia would air his Fox News segments inside Russia as pro-Putin propaganda. They poured money into podcasts and YouTube shows that attacked elections, vaccines, and the FBI, all designated to erode trust in American institutions. Russian disinformation campaigns are still following the same playbook that the KGB used all those decades ago. In fact, it's probably gotten easier due to social media and technological advances. They're able to make it spread a lot faster. They look for cracks in society, whether it's economic, social, or cultural, anything that they can use to sow division that makes you not trust each other. From there, once they figured out what it is, they create a lie, a big lie. It doesn't matter what it is or how outlandish, but it does have to have some kernel of truth in it. It could be small, but just some tiny detail that's not even relevant to what the big lie is, but can make people say, well, hey, this is here, even though it has nothing to do with it, it's somehow connected. Cover up where the story originated. You need to find a useful idiot to spread your message. A lot of times they don't know that they're the useful idiots, but in some cases they do. Anyone that will amplify the message you have so it can be repeated over and over and over again. And when it's called out as being false, you deny it. You just keep denying it and keep repeating the story. Right now, the pipeline of Russian disinformation is so effective, it's not even fringe anymore. It's often repeated by members of Congress and Orange Daddy himself.
Ain't nobody trying to argue with you all damn day, bro. Shut the fuck up. Damn.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan!
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.